Hi guys, this is Alex and welcome to Series 2, Episode 1 of this tutorial series H SoundWorks Scores. In this episode, I'm going to be running through the first section of the second rescore. We're talking about the sound design, synthesis and sampling techniques I've used in comparison to the classical approach that I took on the last one. So the first thing I'm going to be starting off with is this lead line that you hear right at the beginning of the piece. So for this basic lead line, which I started off with, I basically looked to Native Instruments Absinthe to kind of find like a general sound. So I combined frequency modulation or FM synthesis with a very basic guitar sample that I dropped quite low in the mix, as you can see here. I ran this guitar sample through a supercone filter, and then with everything I ran that through a very subtle ring modulation, and then that's going through the etherizer effect in Absinthe. So with that, I just came up with a very basic sound which I just wanted to use. So that's kind of what I came up with as like an initial approach, and then from there I actually went into Pro Tools, which I won't do now just because it's quite long with transferring DAWs. But basically I went into Pro Tools with Isotope Iris 2 and utilised spectral filtering, and also had very slight LFO modulation as well on the fine pitch. So that gave it a little bit of eeriness, a little bit of uncomfortability in there. So with that, I came up with this, which sounds a bit like this. Hold on, let me just turn off the inserts and the sends, and I'll go through them in a second. So that was with the Isotope Iris 2, just kind of spectral filtering it, you're sampling it and reversing it and kind of doing a whole lot of things like that. So that really worked in that aspect. After I bounced it out from Pro Tools back into Cubase again using Isotope Iris 2, I then implemented a couple of inserts on it. So that was after Iris 2 with the spectral filtering and the LFO modulation and very small things like that. Subtle but effective changes. So I then had Little Altar Boy, which is from Sound Toys, which is just kind of giving a little bit of the higher octave. You can just hear it, the nuances just in the upper octave, which sounds really cool. Just a little bit of L2 as well, to limit it just a little bit, quite a lot actually. And then more Absinthe effects. So on this one I actually used it as a as an insert effect using the echoes feature, which I really like. So it's kind of like a delay, reverby sort of echo, which sounds really nice. Which kind of gave it a little bit extra. So and then from there I just sent it to a delay, very basic dotted 8 thing, going to Echo Boy from Sound Toys, and then a reverb, of which I used the Universal Audio EMT plate, which sounds amazing. So here's how that sounds. Sorry, here now. There you go. So that was how I made that lead line. Here is it in context with everything else. Just underneath that, I've got a very similar thing. It's actually the same sample which I've used. Sorry, hold on. There's a little bit of a... Basically, that's from the Primal Tap, which I've got going on in the inserts. But basically, I had exactly the same thing. I was just playing a C and a D, just holding that alongside with that melody playing on top. So I just had the C and D playing exactly the same sample, but a little bit different stuff going on in the inserts. So on the inserts, I'll just turn it off. Just had a little bit of R bass to kind of just give it a little bit more sub, a little bit more low end in that. Didn't make huge amounts of difference, but it's definitely subtle but effective. And then I had the Primal Tap, which is a really cool delay effect, but obviously it's slightly feedbacking now, but it's kind of like a creative sort of delay that I've used in conjunction with it. So this is how that sounds alongside that delay and reverb. And that delay is from H Delay Waves, which sounds really cool, just kind of a 16th note thing, and it's just really sounding, really gives it a little bit extra alongside the reverb. I'll see that as well. And yeah, that's how I made the main two bits of this opening sequence. So the next part of this was the arpeggiator that's going on underneath. I used FM8 for this, just kind of really kind of fast 30-second notes with the arpeggiator, just going really fast and changing from octave to octave and stuff. So it's not really that melodic, it's quite random, but it's quite experimental and sounds pretty cool. Just a little bit of EQ, just kind of, yeah, just a low pass at 12 dB per octave, quite gentle slope. And I'm sending it to 2 delays on pre-fader. So I've completely taken down this audio fader here and having these 2 on the delay. So the delay one is just like a normal one, and the second one here is quite a weird experimental one, which I used H delay for on this one, and then Echo Boy on this one. So it's just going to a lot of delay this one. So all in all, with both of those, it sounds like this. Just playing random octaves. So that's really subtle on the whole score. It's kind of just offers a little bit of an underlying texture. Oh, hold on, let's turn that off. Sorry. So yeah, that's there, just underneath. That was kind of like, it's quite really subtle, but it kind of makes a nice difference in there. And the next main part was actually these drums that they can hear, these very free of time drums. So basically what I did is I took a loop from simple loop from Cubase and literally just played it through on the sampler, which sounds like this. Oh yeah, take off all the inserts. So here's how it sounds just by itself. And then from that, I went on the inserts, I added the crystallizer, this kind of like a reverse granular echo from SoundWorks, just to give it a little bit of weirdness. And then the transient master as well, to obviously emphasize those initial transients. And then a bit of EQ to low pass it and give a little bit of a bump in the low end at around 70 Hz with quite a wide Q. This is how that sounds. Obviously I automated it as well. But then the other drum bit is basically exactly the same, but I've just simply reversed it in the sampler. So yeah, as you can see, this is how it sounds, taking off all of the things again, sorry. And it sounds like this. Oh, sorry, there you go. Once more. Sorry, I had the primal tap on. So yeah, with that primal tap, it's got that alien transmission effect again. Short delay sounds really cool. Bit of EQ. Just yeah, that same one as the last one. Just yeah, a bit of a bump in the low end at around 70 Hz and a low pass filter. Going on to the transient master. Yeah, emphasizing all those transients again. And a bit of crystallizer as well, just to give it some weirdness. And then obviously you sent it to the delay and the reverb here, which sounds a bit like this. Which sounds really cool, but that in combination with the normal drum sample sounds like this. So it's very free of time, very kind of experimental to what's going on in the main lead and things like that. And just the final thing which I've done is just, yeah, as I do, just add a very underlying pad with Albion 1 again. The Stevenson Steam Band sounds amazing. And a nice pad from Massive. Actually, yeah, it's not even a pad, it's just a very simple sine wave, a little bit of a pitch envelope, and a bit of EQ as well. Low passing it by band passing it, sorry, by quite a lot, and adding a bit of R bass to give some sub. So that sounds like this. So then all of that intro sounds like this. So that concludes the first section of this rescore and the first episode in this series. Stay tuned for the next one, where I'll be talking through the second section and what I did in terms of the production, sound design, and synthesis and things like that. So I'll see you then.